Hello, today we are going to configure Visual Studio Code for the programming language Perl. So this is my computer. It's running the Linux operating system Ubuntu 23.04. This is Visual Studio. Let's install it. So code visualstudio.com deb. Let's download it in the today's directory. It finished downloading. Now we need to install it. The command line is sudo. So sudo dpackage -i and then code. Asks for the password of my Linux user. Okay, so while that's running, we have the Git repository kdsrc-build from the KD community. This is a Perl project. So let's run Visual Studio Code in here. So code and then the current directory, which is dot, code space dot. I do not need to specify to put the ampersand at the end of the command line because Visual Studio Code is smart about these things. So it has immediately freed the bash command line terminal. Okay, so it opened the directory kdsrc-build. Let's collapse things here. And let's see the two entry points. The first one is kdsrc-build, which is an executable file, so has chmod bits x, x, and x. So for my current user, my user group, and all of the others, you can see it also from here. It says it's executable. The other one is kdsrc-run, the same thing, executable. Plain text files, both, and written in Perl. Like this. They start with a shebang for USR bin env Perl. Okay, so let's open one, kdsrc-build, this thing. And let's see if I have extensions for Perl installed. Are you? So nothing is installed. What's strange here is that it doesn't propose that I install Visual Studio Code plugins for Perl. Let's open a Perl file that actually has an extension. So this kdsrc-build file is executable, is plain text, is Perl, but does not have any extension. So that would be modules ksb.pl. Okay. So I do not see any prompts where it says that it wants to install Okay, let's go to the extensions and search for, I don't know, just a second. Let me see why Visual Studio Code does not prompt that I install the missing tools for the programming language Perl. Okay, so I have deleted all of the configuration directories of Visual Studio Code. So that's two directories in my case. So in the home directory, there's a hidden directory .vscode, and then the directory home, so my home directory /.config/code. Now, when I start Visual Studio Code in the directory of the where I git cloned kdsrc-build, the Git repository. It asks me if I want to trust the projects in the parent directory src, which I want. Then it shows me the welcome page, which is a first run wizard, where I can choose color themes. Okay, let's open a Perl file. Let's go with one that has the extension PM. And again, it doesn't suggest anything for Perl, which it totally did before. Okay, so let me find what is the best extension for Perl. Popular. So Perl. What does this offer? Language server and debugger for Perl. It opened an interesting web browser. Okay, so this has 151,000 installs. Let's try this one. So install. A request has failed. Etsy Perl USR local lib. What does it try to do? Okay, let me figure this thing out. Okay, so the extension from Perl, from Gerald Richter, depends on having the Perl module, Perl language server installed on my system. So I'm going to use Perl from my Linux distribution. And I'm also going to install Perl language server inside of that Perl. So what it suggests here is that I install dependencies, deb packages, which are needed by Perl language server, and then I install Perl language server using cpan, which is the module manager, dependency manager for Perl, on my computer, so system-wide, not per user. So let's do this. We'll install 21 packages, libev, libquart, libio. Okay. and then I install the Perl module. Would you like to configure as much as possible automatically? Yes. So I pressed enter because yes is the default option. USR bin make, USR bin Perl. So it installed into /usr/local, which is for software that I install on my computer, on my entire system, so for all of the users that use this computer, but not inside /usr, which is where deb packages put their files. So it's safe, the fact that cpan has put files inside /usr/local. Okay. How about if I uninstall it and then install it again? Okay, so it did not complain this time. And I can see it's installed because I can disable it or uninstall it. So let's read the documentation for the extension again. So language server and debug protocol adapter for Perl. Language server protocol is a protocol from Microsoft, and debug adapter protocol, DAP, is another protocol from Microsoft. These provide features for integrated development environments and editors such as Vim, Kate, Emacs, Visual Studio Code, etc. Debug adapter protocol is for debugger functionality. Language server is for code suggestion, auto completion, IntelliSense, however you want to call that thing, go to definition, symbol definition on mouse hover, etc. So it says in here the features from LSP and the features from DAP. Okay, so we've installed Perl language server. And there's settings. This one seems interesting. Okay. So let's see if the Visual Studio Code extension is already active. Let's go back to the source code, go to KDSRC build. So there's syntax highlighting. Let's see. Hover, mouse hover for script path. Go to definition, no definition found. Not a good sign. Okay, so now go to definition has started working. So what is this? Go to definition. Pick definition. It has found the identifier OS defined in many places. References. So it cannot find the KSP EM. Okay, let's see if the debugger runs. Let's put some breakpoints. This thing. Okay, let's start the debugger. Run and debug. So the debugger works out of the box. Nothing that I needed to configure. It says no configuration. Okay, so it's actually running KDSRC-build with no command line parameters, I'm guessing. So says starting /usr/bin/perl -d and then the full path of the file. Okay, let's see if we can run inside the debugger the other entry Perl file, which is called kdsrc-run. Let's put a breakpoint somewhere. Okay. So now it's starting /usr/bin/perl -d and the full path to the kdsrc-run executable file. F10, which is step over works. Let's see step into F11. It goes to the correct place. Go to definition, does not work. So from what I see, the debugging experience is working great out of the box, but the parts which are related to LSP, to the other protocol, don't really work. Okay, we have locals, globals, arguments of the current functions. Okay, let's try to set some parameters to this command line. So to /usr/bin/perl -d and then the full path to the Perl file. Okay. So for that, we probably need to create a launch.json file. So says perl debug. The program is the current file, which is okay. And then we need to set the command line arguments for the for this command line, so for perl -d and then the full path. So let's find out how do we do that. Not this one. This one. So this is the extension that I have installed. In the documentation, it says perl args. So debugger settings. Let's look at those. Type needs to be perl, which it is. Request only launch is supported. Great. The name of the debug configuration, perl debug, correct. Program. Path to the perl program to start. Great. Stop on entry. Okay. Args. So this is what we actually want. After stop on entry, we want args. So this is a string. The args should be kcalc. So within this directory, we have run the command line kdsrc -build kcalc. And now we want to run the other entry point, which is kdsrc -run kcalc. And this is the outcome. It starts a GUI application named kcalc, graphical user interface application, and writes some things to the standard output. And because we did not background it, it takes the entire terminal until we close the GUI application. And now it freed up the terminal. Okay, so the only argument that we want is kcalc. And we need to make sure that we're in the correct file when we start the debugger, which is the file kdsrc -run. Okay, reload modules. If true, automatically reload changed perl modules while debugging. Sounds interesting. Change working directory before launching the debuggy. So the working directory must always be the directory where I git clone, so this one. Otherwise, it will not work. So let's eventually set this thing. cwd. Workspace folder. Let's make it this thing. And let's hardcode this one. Can we have comments in JSON? Apparently we can. So the name of the executable is this one. Okay, so we have breakpoints inside kdsrc minus run, this at line 45 for instance. And now I'm going into the wrong Perl file, such as this one, and I start the debugger. Perl debug is automatically selected, the debugger configuration, and I press the Start Debugging F5 button. So it should be an array. The args JSON. Okay, how do we do that? Like this. Okay, so it started kdsrc minus run, stopped at line 45. Let's stop the debugger again. Go to the wrong file. This one. Start the debugger. And it has started the correct file, which is kdsrc minus run, and stopped at line 45. So it does not matter what's the currently opened file inside Visual Studio Code, it will start the debugger the way I want it. Let's clean this thing up and restart it. Okay, so I can see the command line usr bin perl minus d full path to kdsrc minus run and then the parameter keycalc. Okay, let's run, let it run. So continue F5. It shows the GUI application. This is the standard output of the process kdsrc minus run. Okay. Let's close it. Start a debug session to evaluate expressions. Sounds interesting. The terminal is not used. There's output from the Perl language server. Okay, let's see if we can actually use the evaluate expressions feature. Put a breakpoint in here, start the debugger. Okay, and how do I print exec? A module. So module is the string kcalc. Okay, so it has what I want from a debugger because I like to program while the debugger is running inside my integrated development environment. So it has step over, step into, step out. Let's go step over. Decode JSON step into, step out. Okay. I can see the values inside identifiers by hovering on them. Build data is huge. Okay. The result of decode JSON. Okay, I can see build data in here. In the tool window, run and debug variables locals. I can evaluate it in here. In the debug console. There's the evaluate in debug console. Okay. Global specials. Really interesting to see the all of the variables that are available on line 87. So there's arguments, there's these special ones from Perl, including environment variables. Search path. Global variables. We can change values. Let's see if that works. Okay, we have call stack. We're still inside kdsrc-run. So let's stop the debugger. Start the debugger, let it run very deep. Okay, so now the debugger is not paused, not stopped. The application, the Perl application is running. It's waiting for kcalc to close. So we cannot see any call stack because again the application is running, not pausing the debugger. Let's pause the application inside of the debugger. F6. Not that easy. The application also does fork, Unix fork, so maybe that's the problem. Okay, so now let's see the other entry point, which is called kdsrc-build, and the parameters are kcalc no include dependencies. Minus debug. Let's see how it runs. Control S to save the file. And now we're inside kdsrc-build, which is the correct thing to do. Okay. So let's see where it said package is successfully built. Ctrl-Shift-F, Ctrl-V. More. Let's exclude docbooks. Okay, so in just one place, put a breakpoint in here. And at the start of the... Okay, so by clicking on the symbol, which is shown in the breadcrumb. So in the breadcrumb, there's the full path, then the file name, and then the symbol, the current sub-algorithm, method, function, procedure, handle build. Let's put a breakpoint here. Let's see if we can put breakpoints at braces. Okay, back to the debugger. Start. So it's configured to stop when the process starts. So on the first line that you can put a breakpoint, which is line 46, there it's where it's going to stop. So maybe we do not want this. So let's save the configuration, stop and start the debugger again. Okay, we're still in the top level file, which is kdsrc-build, no core stack or just the main in the core stack. Continue F5. Let's remove this breakpoint, continue F5. Okay, and now we're at line 243 in taskmanager.pm, which is a different file from kdsrc-build. We now have a core stack. So inside kdsrc-build, we're in this eval. Then it's the eval on line 187. Then inside of the function run module phases, run all module phases. Okay. And then inside run all module phases in application.pm, at the line run all tasks, control click, go to definition, works. So run all tasks in application PM, run all tasks. In task manager PM, this one. Okay. And then handle async build, which is from task manager PM. And then handle build, which is still in task manager PM. Okay, we have breakpoints set here. So let's see what it has already written to standard output. So this is the start of the output. Okay, so it says building kcalc, environment variables. Inter-process communication. Not sure what these things are. For language server IPC, okay. Next, standard output from the application. So it's running git command lines for the git repository kcalc.git, branch master. So still git actions. And after git actions, it's inside handle build. Okay, so let's see what it does. Modules in phase build. Wait for stream start. Unset persistent option global. F11 to go inside pretending. Okay, so this is defined at line 23. Is pretending. How do I go back? Alt Control minus. I do not like this shortcut. I want it to be similar to web browsers, Alt left. So is pretending is 0. Pretending means I'm not sure what's the command line parameter for not actually building Rust. Pretending that it's building, okay? Get logged here. So out file, it's creating a plain text file where it's going to save the standard output of the entire process tree. No errors. Just one module to build, which is kcalc. Just one module inside of modules. Name kcalc. Module set utils. It's debugging. I use the command line parameter ---- debug, which makes the application write more things to standard output. Did not write anything yet. Okay, it's going to write now on line 293. It says building, and then it's using terminal colors. Kcalc build system kd make from kd utils. 1 out of 1. So mouse hover works. It's showing me the value of variables. Internal error 1 can't continue, so stopping now. Build single module. Okay, let's start the debugger again. I don't need any breakpoints here. F5. Signal received terminating. There might be some interference between the language server, which does IPC, does multiple processes, does TCP ports. So in here it says it's connecting to localhost on port 55,016, connecting from localhost 55,004 to what? Connect from. It's sending Unix messages, signals. And the application that we're debugging is doing interesting things with its standard output handle, and it's trying to do T, so to write both to the standard output and to the log file at the same time in interesting ways. So it's not the simplest application to debug. Okay. So what do we have? The core stack works, variables work, watch probably works, the debug console works. We can evaluate expressions here. Inside launch.json we have this interesting setting which says automatically reload change Perl modules while debugging, which might be support for hot reloading. That would be interesting. I don't really use it. After I actually edit the source code, I stop the debugger and start the debugger again. It's going to go straight to the line that I have been editing because that's where I put a new breakpoint. Okay, so I'm very happy with the features of the Visual Studio Code extension for Perl named richterger.perl. It's totally enough. So Visual Studio Code plus this plugin is enough for me to edit at least this application KDSRC-build. Thank you.